All right, so yo, is there an unwritten rule in Hollywood that you can't kill children on screen? I don't think it's the law or anything, but they tend not to do it. Why? I don't know. Is it out of bad taste that you don't kill children in movies? Does it hit a little bit too close to home? Well, in this video, I'm going over the top 3 child's deaths in the movie. No, not in real life. I'm not a fucking monster, all right? I'm just talking about children that died within the story. But there have been some on-screen deaths of children. Twilight Zone with John Landon got a lot of trouble for when a helicopter misfunctioned and fell on 2 actors. Like, there were actually 2 kids and a grown man. They got chopped up by the helicopter. I know that's dark, right? Maybe the Munchkins that hung themselves, but Munchkins were, grown little people, so they didn't lose that count. Anyway, I digress. All right, yo, before we get into our list, I've got to give a couple honorable mentions. The first honorable mention goes to Bridge to Terabithia. Doesn't Bridge to Terabithia sound like a magical fantasy place, like the never-ending story?
Bridge to Terabithia.
Close your eyes, but keep your mind wide open.
And that's what they marketed it as. So like, I got this movie on DVD and I'm like, this is gonna be a mystical, magical ride, it's gonna be full of fantasy. No, it's about death. The girl dies. It's a 12-year-old girl that ends up dying in the creek, and they spend most of the movie dealing with her loss. And then the bridge to Terabithia, of course, is in your imagination, but yo, we have to deal with this reality called death, and the girl died. I'm like, what?
Your friend Leslie's dead. She drowned in a creek this morning. Apparently she tried to swing across on a rope and it broke. They think she hit her head.
What an assholes marketing this movie to children. Can you imagine you drop your child out to the movies and he comes back destroyed because the girl died in the second act? It was fucked up. Never watched Bridge to Terabithia. All right, speaking of never-ending story, I gotta go with Anthrax. I know he's not technically a child, but he would be a child horse, in the context of the story from Never Ending Story. You all guys, anybody seen Never Ending Story, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Shit that fucked me up as a kid when they were going through the river of sadness or whatever, and Anthrax just stopped and looked at son like, yo, I'm done with life, son. I can't do this shit no more. I'm done, B. I'm done. Go ahead and go without me, because I ain't leaving here. He was depressed, he was sad, he can go on longer no more. Like, you can't do this to us. This horse was here this whole movie. He's my best friend within this story. I'm like, we riding with the horse, and the horse dies, son. He just drowns, and this segment goes on for like a minute or 2, and you're just depressed. I remember watching this as a child and be like, oh no, I'm so sad and so depressed that Anthrax died, but luckily he came back.
You gotta move or you'll die! Move, please! I won't give up! Don't quit! Anthrax!
All right, my next honorable mention goes to Dr. Sleep, the little baseball boy in Dr. Sleep. What makes this so tragic? You got these vampiric vampires sucking on him, basically sucking the shining out of him. You know what I'm saying? It's not a super grotesque scene or anything, but you know this child is dying, and you see these grown-ass men and women feeding off his soul. So they're literally taking his soul out of your body. You gotta sit there, and watch that. A very effective scene from a child dying in a film. All right, yo, this is my top 3 of children dying in films. At number 3 comes Macaulay Culkin in My Girl. Yo, I was watching My Girl like...
What'd you think of me? For what? Well, if you don't get to marry Mr. Bixler. I guess.
My Girl.
I got sunshine on a smiley day. It's just this lighthearted movie. Got Dan Aykroyd, Macaulay Culkin just coming up. It's just like a fun little coming of age story until the bees come. And the bees come and they sting Macaulay Culkin, and the next scene he's in the coffin and the little girl is saying, wake up, look at something's wrong with his face. It was so it was so traumatic. Like, yo, what the fuck? Y'all killed Macaulay Culkin in the middle of the movie, and I still gotta go with it? This is super sad. So number 3 is My Girl. All right, y'all still with me? That brings us to number 2. My number 2 child's death is probably should be number 1, but I'm gonna go with this. It's Charlie from Hereditary. You know that old thing. If you're going to your party, you gotta take your sister. He takes his sister to the party. She's allergic to nuts. Thus, she has an allergic reaction. Trying to rush her to the hospital, she can't breathe. So she rolls down the window, sticks her head out the window, and BAM! Meets the pole, and the scene doesn't show her decapitation, but you know really what happened, you know? And the son just drives home. Didn't check on his sister, he know it's over. Drives home, and his mother, they don't even show you. His mother, you just hear her opening up the door and seeing Charlie there decapitated, and she just gives the most heart-wrenching scream ever, because you know it was over. Then they cut back to Charlie with the ants running the train on her face. Thank you, Peter Anthony, for that joke. What makes this death so fucked up is the nature that it's happened, right? She sticks her head off and get decapitated by a pole. It's like, no joke, this is the only movie that I had to literally leave the theater because I was so disturbed by that scene and call my family, true story, to make sure everybody was all right, because it was that fucked up, because it was a child and she just got fucked up like that, you know what I'm saying? It fucked with my mental a little bit. So that's why number 2 goes to Hereditary. Now let's get into our number 1 child death on screen of all time. I know if you're dark, you're still staying with me. You're just as fucked up as I am for coming up with this list. So here's number 1. It's gotta be Cage from Pet Sematary. Oh my God, you know, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Pet Sematary, but like a 3-year-old boy gets ran over by a Mack truck. What makes this death so impactful? Well, he's a 3-year-old fucking boy. He was flying a kite and he ran off into the street. I mean, this couldn't happen to like anyone. They lived on a bad street, you know what I'm saying, with trucks coming through like that. But like, it was too late. You see the scene, the dad looks over, Cage is running towards to get the kite and shit, and then all of a sudden you see that perspective of him behind him, and guess who you meet? Mack truck, son. You know it's over. Truck flips over, all you see is Cage's little shoe. It's fucked up. You're like, yo, you can't kill a little kid. You can't kill a 3-year-old on screen, but luckily, he comes back. And I know this was a hard list to get to, children dying on screen, but it's an unwritten rule. I don't know why, is it out of bad taste? You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying, like I said, does it hit close to home? Did I miss any on this list? I know the one from Halloween, Halloween Ends, when the child goes over the banister and busts his head open. That's a pretty good one, but he was a little asshole too, so I didn't quite throw him on this list. But did I miss any? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, go ahead, hit that like button. And if you really like this content, consider subscribing to the Q Review family. Take care of your kids out there, and don't just stare at it, eat it. Peace.
I'm out cold, you hoes been exposed. Walk up on you slow with the foe and unload. You got more left for dead on the road. I strode when your car got